welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be doing a review on a book called More Than Enough by Elaine Welteroth. This book, it is so good. It's definitely a must read. There are going to be a few spoilers in this video, but you definitely still want to stay tuned. Okay, so first off, the book starts off with a foreword. Now, I like to read my forewords every now and then. I kind of read a few sentences to see if it's something that I really want to spend time reading, or do I just want to get into the thick of things. So the foreword is by Ava DuVernay, and this foreword was the bomb. It was short, sweet, to the point. It was not long and drawn out. And basically, it just reminded me that everything happens for a reason. It doesn't matter if it worked out exactly how you wanted it to work out. In the end, it was for a purpose and it was for a reason. So the book started off out the gate inspiring. From reading the introduction, I was reeled in from that point because I knew that there was going to be some part of this book that would resonate with me as a Black woman that's always striving for greatness. There was a quote that really stood out to me right in the introduction. Like, I haven't even got into the book yet, and it was already some gems like, yes, okay. Now I'm going to be looking down because, I just didn't memorize the quote. Okay, so I'm going to read on my iPad and go over the quote. I hope you are reminded it is the very things you underestimate about yourself that will help you create your own magic. Wow. That quote is really, really good because there are times that we underestimate ourselves. There are times that we criticize ourselves. There are times when we don't believe that there are things that we can accomplish. When you underestimate yourself, that just dulls your light. And it just reminded me that I cannot underestimate my greatness. I have to live up to my full potential. So I really love that quote coming out the gate. Now, as we go into the book, Elaine starts off in her younger years, and then she goes into middle and high school and all that good stuff. So she meets a guy who she refers to as first love. Now, this relationship is toxic, to say the least. And one of the quotes in the chapter, I think it was chapter 4, where she started to talk about first love is, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Now, that quote tends to be true a lot of times. Sometimes people need a second chance, but in this instant, first love did not need any second chances. She was caught up in this relationship with first love for around 5 years, and it was definitely not an ideal relationship. But at the same time, you just have to kind of go through it, and you would end up being where you're meant to be. If she wouldn't have been in this relationship with first love, there would be certain experiences that she would not have had, certain people she would not have met. So this chapter was really, really good, and I feel like every woman will be able to relate at some point. We have all dealt with little boys that did all type of stuff to hurt our little feelings, and it kind of just brings you back to those nostalgic moments as a child, dealing with all the things that come along with being in a relationship at a young age and not knowing when to say, okay, no, I'm just gonna walk away from this completely. As she's navigating these relationships, she also talks about how it is to be a light-skinned woman. And I really think that this was a good insight, because being a brown-skinned woman, dark-skinned woman, although we are all Black women, sometimes it's hard to understand what it's like to be in a person's shoes. So Elaine talks about how she is a light-skinned woman, her mom is Black, her father is white, and how she was never white enough with her white friends and never Black enough with her Black friends. And wow, that's crazy. Like, imagine going through middle school and not knowing where you fit in and not really knowing how to define yourself as a young girl. And so Elaine talks about how she had a lot of white friends, and her white friends, they were all over hanging out at a summer party. I think it was a few white girls, and then she had like a Mexican friend, and they were all sitting there joking around, and one of her white friends said to her other white friend, "Hey, get me some water." And one of her white friends said, "What do I look like, your nigger?" Yeah, like, wow. So she is in middle school when this happens, and she doesn't say anything. And I mean, like, I understand, because that probably caught her off guard. Like, wow, these are my friends. We are at a slumber party. Like, I really enjoy these girls' company. We hang out. And then now she realizes, like, whoa, everyone's looking at me because I am the Black woman in the room. Like, that's pretty awkward. So navigating through this chapter was really interesting, and just seeing what experiences she had as a child. And she also talks about the Black table. Now, I have been to some schools that were predominantly white, and there is a Black table. And Elaine just basically felt like she wasn't a part. Like, she needed an invitation to come to the Black table. And that's kind of crazy. You know, as a Black woman, why would she not feel comfortable being in a crowd where she belongs? She still felt like she did not, and that she needed some type of invitation to come to the Black table. I mean, interesting. Now, I'm definitely skipping around. You're gonna have to read the book. I can't give you the rundown on the entire book, okay? Just go read the book. But I'm gonna go into when Elaine graduated college. Now, this chapter I can definitely relate. So when Elaine graduated, she gave herself 90 days to figure out what she wanted to do. Now, when I went to school, I thought I wanted to be a publicist. I wanted to be like the Hills, and they were going to these events behind the scenes. And then I quickly realized, like, oh, no, this is not how it actually works. There's a lot of work on the back end that I was not fond of. And when I got out of school, I needed to figure out what I was going to do too. So basically, essentially, like Elaine, I had to really sit down and figure out what is my game plan. So as Elaine sat down, she thought about what she wanted to do. There were a few opportunities that came up. She wanted to definitely do an internship at Essence magazine. And there was also a woman that she came across named Harriet that Elaine definitely became a fan of. And she wanted to work for Harriet in some capacity. So Elaine decided to blow up Harriet's phone day in, day out to speak with her. And eventually, she was able to speak with her. And she asked Harriet to keep her in mind if anything were to come about, any positions open, if she ever needed her for anything, right? But Elaine also got the position at Essence magazine to be an intern that year. Well, when Essence called her for the job, they asked her what position she wanted. And she told these people she did not care. She would even be the janitor. Wrong answer, sis. When they called her, they put her in like a wealth, I think it was like a wealth area or something like that. Something that Elaine was not really interested. She is really into the fashion, beauty aspect of it. So she ended up getting the position in Essence magazine, which is a big deal, but doing like wealth, like that's not what she wanted to do. So she went, and Elaine actually offered her a position at the same time. And she had already accepted the position at Essence. So she went to go do some type of, I guess, like a on-the-spot interview, and she crushed it. And Harriet ended up offering her a job that same day. So Elaine was between a rock and a hard place, because here we are with two options. Either I'm going to work for Essence magazine, or I'm going to work for Ebony magazine. Now, even during that time, Essence was top notch and Ebony was not so prominent as Essence was. But Elaine really believed in Harriet. She really liked Harriet and decided to go ahead and go with Ebony. But one piece of advice that Harriet gave Elaine, before she chose, when she heard that Elaine took this wealth position at Essence, was, if you know what you want, be specific because you might just get it. That's a gem for you. That is definitely a gem. I know that being young, growing up, sometimes I feel like we shrink ourselves. We do not ask for exactly what we want. And listening to different speeches, most of the people that's successful, they ask for what they want. I know Steve Harvey is big on that. And a lot of his speeches, he talks about you have not because you ask not. So I think that's definitely a quote that needs to be written down. Ask for what you want because you might just get it. So as I mentioned before, Elaine took that job right there at Ebony alongside Harriet. Now, it wasn't as fancy as she imagined it to be. She thought people was going to be walking up in there with Prada shoes. It was going to be a room. I don't know. Have you ever watched Devil Wears Prada? Yeah, I love that movie. So she thought that Ebony was going to look just like the Devil Wears Prada, and it was not looking like that, okay? But you know, she decided she was going to hang out in there and see what was going on. I definitely know how that feels because you think you're walking into something and then it turns out not to be the case. But nevertheless, Elaine decided to stick through working with Ebony, even though it wasn't as classy as she had imagined. And she actually did really, really good. And she was there past her internship time. So she had moved to New York. Her and her friend rented this beat up apartment that her mom didn't even feel comfortable leaving her in. But nevertheless, she left her there. And she was doing good at the company. And so since she was there longer than her scheduled time frame, she decided to give herself a promotion. She just went ahead and changed her title on her email signature. And hey, she got the promotion just like that. I mean, Harriet told her, you have not because you asked not. So she just decided to make the changes herself and just asked herself for permission. Now, after a while, Elaine decided, okay, I really need a promotion. I need some more money. So Elaine went and told them like, hey, I need an actual promotion. Okay. So they tried to try her and offer her, like, I think it was like $12. Elaine was like, nah, I really need this money. So when they did not give her that raise, she did not come to work that next day, right? But lucky thing, her boss was Harriet, and, you know, she decided to look out. Instead of calling HR and asking to fire her, Harriet decided to advocate for Elaine, letting them know that Elaine is an asset and she needs Elaine in order to do her job. So guess what happened? Elaine got that raise. So that chapter was very interesting and very motivating because here she was. This is the same girl that a few months ago did not want to ask Essence for the role that she wanted. And here she is now letting them know like, hey, I'm going to walk if y'all don't give me what I want. Definitely some growth right there. Now, Elaine's growing up and then she meets some men. And so she had this man that she really, really likes, right? And now, I don't know what world Elaine lives in. But from the time that this man asked her to take down a picture that was posted of them, she should have knew something was up. Like, really? Why do I want to take off a picture? So the man claimed that there was some issue at work and it was just causing a lot of disturbance at work. Like, seriously, if he didn't have anything going on, why would a picture of you and your girlfriend, that's an appropriate picture nonetheless, why would that cause a problem? I just don't understand that, right? Yeah. So she let that go and did not take heed to that red flag. So Elaine finally bossed up and got rid of this man. Of course, after he broke her little heart, she hung around for a few more months and still was talking to him. I don't know, you know, why we do things like this. I just don't know. Then her mom finally cut it off completely. She flew out to Elaine and let her know, listen, you will not answer calls from this man no more. And she didn't. So she left that man in the dust and she ended up getting a job at Teen Vogue. Now the job at Teen Vogue made her the first African American beauty director. This was in 2012. She wanted to make sure that she lived up to this role. So there's an acronym that's used in this book called FOD, First Only Different. So she is a FOD, and she definitely didn't want to disappoint anyone while in this role. So she wanted to make sure that she was able to discuss race and gender, and she wanted to make sure she can do it intelligently. Wow, that's deep. I feel like especially right now, there's a lot of injustices that are coming to the light that have always been here. And I feel like when you fully understand your history, you can definitely weigh in on these topics, and you want to sound intelligent while doing that. It's hard for some people to have these conversations because we do not know our history. So she talks about having the responsibility to have these conversations. We are only taught like American history. I mean, I don't remember taking an African American class until I walked on a college campus. So when it comes time to have these conversations about systemic racism, we can talk about exactly how the system works. We can talk about our history, and we can get our point across with facts, because we know exactly what happened. And I found this link, which I will tag below, that has free resources of all types of Black history that we need to spend some time looking over to make sure that we are educated and we are informed. So as Elaine goes through this journey with Teen Vogue, she is constantly trying to be inclusive, and she goes on a trip to Africa, and she gets these braids long down to her back, and when she gets to work, one of her counterparts decides to ask her, "Oh, did your hair grow that long? Like, come on now." Now, you know my hair did not grow this fast, that quick, especially if I just cut it. Get real. But nevertheless, that is a constant. Like, that's just even another topic on its own. So Elaine decides to do this spread that talks about Black hair, and in the spread she missed the mark because all she had was light-skinned women that were wearing long Singhalese twists. Yeah. So then the issue of colorism came to the forefront because Black Twitter totally did not appreciate what she was going for. Like, Black Twitter was just not going for it. So chapter 15 and 16 gets into some of that. And, you know, it's definitely sad because colorism is still alive and well. I think it was last year or the year before, me and a friend of mine, we were at work, and I forgot exactly what we were talking about. But basically, I was just trying to explain to her that colorism is real. And she did not believe this. So I said, okay, well, do a poll. Ask the males on your Instagram that if there are two twins, one light skin and one dark skin, which one will they choose? And guess what? On the poll, most men decided to go with the light-skinned women. Why? I don't know. But there's definitely a colorism divide. I mean, they're both the same. They're identical twins. Why did these men decide that they prefer the lighter-skinned woman better? So that chapter goes into a little bit of that and what that experience was like. So that's definitely a good chapter that I liked as well. Elaine continues to grow and strive for greatness. I mean, she does not settle. She works hard to the point where she was not eating. She really was working like crazy. So she had the opportunity to meet Anna Wintour, and she got some tips from some people that she knew before about, how to dress and the do's and don'ts of meeting Anna. I'm gonna read what the tips were, okay? Okay, so here are the tips. Don't wear black. She likes color. Have an opinion. She likes people who has a point of view. She will ask you about your hobbies, what you like to do in your free time. Be honest, but sound smart. She's big on culture. Be prepared to talk about what Broadway shows you have seen recently, what books you're currently reading, what museums or art exhibitions you visited, stuff like that. Be yourself. She doesn't like people who cower in her presence. Be confident. She can smell fear. Those were some good tips. That is one of my biggest pet peeves. I do not like when people are not themselves. So that was a major tip that I would say stood out to me for people reading this book. Like, be yourself. People like when you're yourself, when you have your own ideas, when you go for things that you want and you don't go after things because someone else is doing it or because that is someone else's dream. So I definitely love those tips. Those are tips that you should take into account for every person that you meet. Just do you. In terms of the colors, if you like black, wear black. I mean, wear whatever you feel like wearing, but just always be your authentic self. Chapter 24 was really good. As we talked about, all the chapters open up with a quote. So the quote for this chapter was, "Wanna fly? You gotta give up down." Now that's a quote for you. How many times do we hold on to things that it's time to let go of? And then we think that we're going to make it to the next level with these same habits, with these same routines. Like, how do you expect to go on and become greater than you are now, but you're not willing to let go of anything? You have to let go of certain thought patterns. You got to let go of certain actions. So Elaine sits down with Ava and she is telling her story, and Elaine is faced with a big decision. Is she going to leave Vogue? And it's a toss-up. Like, she's been at Vogue for years. This is her security blanket. She knows how to navigate in that world. And the fear of the unknown definitely scares her, as does anybody. Definitely recommend that you pick up a copy of this book right here, More Than Enough. This is not sponsored. I know I'm hyping the book up and all that, but it is a really, really good book. I have honestly been reading a few autobiographies, which has not been my thing before. I'm normally like a self-help type of girl, but I'm kind of feeling like the self-help books, honestly, like, I feel like if I read one, I kind of read most of them. So I haven't been really indulging in that as much per se. I do want to find a really good one. So if you have any recommendations, leave them in the comments below, because I love a good self-help. But this book is really good. Another book I recommend is Michelle Obama's Becoming. Now, I've met a lot of people that have said they have not finished reading that book. And the key to reading that book is to break it up in sections. It's really, really long and you have to commit to it, but you will not be disappointed. That is a really good book. And Asata is really, really good. I read Asata in February and I was on vacation and I was waiting to go back to my hotel to pick up this book and read it. Yeah, it's that good. So thank you for watching. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to my channel for more book reviews. All right, thank you for watching. Have a great day.